The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never been this quiet. For 200,000 years, representatives from 800 worlds had gathered in this place to debate, argue, and decide the fate of civilizations. The obsidian walls stretched toward an artificial sky that showed the spinning arms of the Milky Way in real time. 1,200 diplomats sat in curved galleries that surrounded a central platform like the inside of a giant eye. Today, that eye was fixed on 3 humans standing alone at the center of the chamber. Ambassador Thomas Gray had prepared for this moment his entire life. He stood straight, his gray hair neatly combed, his simple blue uniform, a stark contrast to the flowing robes and glittering armor of the alien delegates around him. Beside him stood his aide, Lieutenant Maya Torres, and their security officer, Commander Eric Nolan. 3 humans, 8 billion people back on Earth, and 1,200 alien species watching their every move. High Arbiter Vorn, a crystalline being whose body refracted light into broken rainbows, spoke first. His voice echoed through translation devices in 4,000 languages. Humanity, you have been summoned to answer for your crimes against galactic order. Thomas felt Maya tense beside him. They had expected hostility. They had not expected to be called criminals. What crimes? Thomas asked calmly. You have refused 47 diplomatic summons. You have expanded into restricted space. You have ignored trade agreements, order protocols, and integration requirements. For 60 years, you have behaved as if the Galactic Council does not exist. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Ambassador Celix, a serpentine diplomat with scales that shifted from blue to angry orange, uncoiled from her observation sphere. In the history of this council, no species has survived such defiance, she hissed. The Moldrani refused twice. They are extinct. The Zareth Collective declined 3 times. They serve as warnings to children. Yet these humans ignore us 47 times? Thomas Gray looked around the chamber. He saw fear in many eyes. He saw anger in others. He saw confusion in most. Good. Confusion was useful. High Arbiter, Thomas said, his voice steady. Humanity did not refuse your summons. We simply chose to respond in our own time. 60 years is not a response. It is contempt. 60 years is preparation. Thomas reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. Every weapon in the chamber powered up, targeting him. He ignored them. May I present evidence? Vorn's crystalline form flickered with uncertainty. Proceed, but know that any hostile action will result in your immediate destruction. Thomas activated the device. A holographic display appeared at the chamber's center, showing Earth as it had been 60 years ago. A small blue world, barely capable of interstellar travel, surrounded by primitive stations and handful of exploration vessels. This was us when your first fleet arrived, Thomas said. 5 ships. Limited technology. No weapons worth mentioning. And you sent 300 warships to demand our surrender. Standard first contact protocol, Fleet Commander Raxus growled. He was a massive figure encased in biomechanical armor, leader of the Vorinth Dominion's military forces. New species must be assessed and integrated. Integrated. Thomas let the word hang in the air. We looked up that word in your databases. It means subjugation. It means our resources become yours. Our people become your labor force. Our world becomes your colony. It means protection, Vorn corrected. Membership in the Council provides security against threats beyond your understanding. And the price of that protection? Silence. We studied every species that accepted your protection, Thomas continued. 80% saw their populations decline within 3 generations. 60% lost their original cultures entirely. 40% no longer exist as distinct civilizations. They were absorbed, digested, erased. Those species were weak, Raxus said. They could not adapt. Or perhaps they were not given the choice to adapt on their own terms. Thomas changed the display. Now it showed human space as it existed today. 17,000 stations, 42 colonies, 1.3 million ships. This is us now, the chamber erupted. Impossible, Celix shouted. No species advances that quickly without conquest. We did not conquer anyone, Thomas said. We built. We learned. We prepared. Every fleet you sent to intimidate us taught us something. Every threat revealed a capability we needed to develop. Every species that tried to force us to submit showed us exactly what we needed to become. This is a trick, Raxus demanded. Falsified data designed to frighten us. Then send a fleet to verify. Thomas smiled, and there was no warmth in it. You have before. 47 times. How did that work out? The chamber fell silent again. High Arbiter Vorn's light dimmed as he processed the implications. You are claiming that humanity deliberately provoked us. That you wanted us to send fleets. We wanted to be left alone. You refused. So we adapted. Thomas deactivated the display. We are not here to threaten you. We are not here to demand anything. We are here to offer something the Council has never received before. What could you possibly offer us? Thomas looked around the chamber one final time. He saw the fear more clearly now. Fear of the unknown. Fear of change. Fear of a species that had done something unprecedented. A choice, he said. You can continue to treat us as enemies. You can send more fleets. You can attack our stations, destroy our colonies, kill our people. We will survive. We will rebuild. And eventually, we will respond. Or you can accept that we are not going away. We are not submitting. We are not integrating. We are simply existing in our own space, building our own future. You can leave us alone, and we will leave you alone. You can trade with us fairly, and we will trade with you fairly. You can treat us as equals, and we will treat you as equals. And if we choose the first option? Raxus asked. If we decide to destroy you? Thomas Gray met the fleet commander's compound eyes without flinching. Then you will learn why we spent 60 years preparing. You will learn what humanity becomes when we stop being patient. And you will learn that some prices are too high to pay, even for the greatest empire in the galaxy. He turned and walked toward the exit, Maya and Eric falling into step beside him. This council session is not concluded, Vorn called out. You cannot simply leave. Thomas stopped at the door. We are not leaving permanently. We are giving you time to discuss what you have heard, to consider your options, to decide what kind of future you want. How long? However long you need. We have waited 60 years. We can wait longer. He paused. But High Arbiter, I would not wait too long. Every day you debate is a day we continue building. And right now, we are building something the galaxy has never seen before. What? Thomas did not answer. He walked through the door, leaving 1,200 species to wonder what humanity had become during 60 years of silence. And in the darkest corner of the chamber, Elder Moth, a floating consciousness contained in a sphere of glowing gas, whispered to himself the words from ancient archives that no one else remembered. When the silent ones finally speak, the galaxy will learn why silence was a mercy. The humans had finally spoken. The galaxy was about to learn. 3 months passed after Ambassador Gray's speech to the Galactic Council. 3 months of debates, arguments, and fear spreading through 800 worlds. 3 months of species wondering what humanity had built during their long silence. Fleet. Commander Raxus refused to wait any longer. Deploy the 51st Fleet, he ordered from his command ship. The devastation eternal. Full combat formation. We will probe their defenses and expose this human bluff. 1,200 warships jumped to the edge of human space. 400,000 crew members. Enough firepower to destroy a dozen worlds. Admiral Brenix, a veteran of 200 campaigns, led the attack. She expected resistance. She found silence. Human ships detected the fleet immediately. Small vessels, unarmed according to sensors, simply adjusted course to avoid them and continued about their business. They did not flee. They did not hail. They did not even acknowledge the 1,200 warships pointing weapons at their territory. They are ignoring us, reported her tactical officer. A young Vorinth named Crix. Like we are weather. Launch fighters. Block their shipping lanes. Force a response. Fighters screamed across space, cutting off human trade routes. Human cargo vessels stopped, waited patiently, and when the fighters did not move, simply took longer routes around them. Admiral, our psychological warfare protocols assume fear responses. Elevated communications. Emergency scrambles. Defensive formations. There is nothing. They are just adapting. Admiral Brenix felt something she had not experienced in 2 centuries of warfare. Doubt. Target their nearest station. Full weapons charge. They will respond to the threat of extinction. The Devastation Eternal powered up its main cannon, a weapon capable of cracking a moon. The human station, a cylinder orbiting a gas giant, did nothing. No evacuation. No shields. No distress calls. They must see the weapons charge, Crix said. Every species knows what that sound means. Why do they not run? Cowardice, Brenix decided. They have frozen fire. A beam of concentrated destruction lanced across space and struck the human station directly. Plasma and debris exploded outward. The station was gone. Target destroyed, Crix reported. Then his compound eyes went wide. Admiral, long-range sensors. Something is happening. Throughout human space, 17,000 stations went dark simultaneously. Not destroyed, deactivated, as if someone had flipped a single switch across 300 light years. What is this? I do not know. Wait, Admiral, the debris field from the station. Something is moving. They watched in horrified silence as the remains of the destroyed station began to reassemble. Piece by piece, molecule by molecule. In 3 minutes, it looked exactly as before, except for a blinking light. That is a mathematical sequence, Crix whispered. Prime numbers. They are acknowledging us. The light stopped. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then every sensor on every ship registered the same impossible reading. 17,000 stations reactivating. 1.3 million vessels emerging from hidden positions, and a single transmission in every known language. You have demonstrated your capability. We have noted it. You may leave now, or you may stay and learn what we are capable of. This is the only warning you will receive. Choose wisely. Admiral Brenix stared at the tactical display. Her fleet was surrounded, not by weapons, as human ships still showed no armaments, but by sheer numbers that had appeared from nowhere. Numbers impossible for a species barely 60 years into interstellar travel. How? How do they have this many ships? The answer came from the human transmission that followed. You are not the first fleet sent to our borders. You are not the second. You are not the 10th. You were the 47th. Did you think we were not counting? Did you think we were not preparing? Every fleet taught us something. Every threat revealed a capability. Every species that tried to intimidate us showed us exactly what we needed to become. Admiral Brenix made the only decision she could. All ships, retreat. Maximum speed. Now. As the 51st Fleet fled, Renix could not shake one thought. The humans had not attacked. They had not threatened. They had simply shown that they could attack, could threaten, and chose not to. That restraint terrified her more than any weapon. Back in the council chamber, High Arbiter Vorn received the report in stunned silence. They let her go. They had every justification to destroy the fleet. They did not. That makes them weak, Raxus growled. No. Elder Moth's consciousness pulsed with ancient memory. That makes them patient. I have been searching the archives. I found something. Something that should not exist. What? A fragment from the architects themselves. A warning about a species matching humanity's description. The architects vanished 1,000,000 years ago. What could they know about humans? The warning does not mention humans specifically. It mentions a type of species. Species that do not communicate through diplomacy or war. Species that communicate through consequence. They do not threaten. They do not negotiate. They simply act, and the galaxy learns to interpret their actions. Usually too late. What happened to the last species like that? Elder Moth's light dimmed. There is no record of what happened to them. Only what happened to everyone who opposed them. 14 civilizations erased. Not conquered. Erased. No ruins. No survivors. No explanations. Just empty space where empires once stood. The chamber erupted in chaos. Celix's scales turned pure black. Are you saying humans could do the same to us? I am saying humans have shown more restraint in 60 years than any species in recorded history. They have been attacked 47 times. They have lost stations, ships, and lives. And they have never struck back. And they are peaceful. No. Elder Moth's form pulsed with something like fear. They are waiting. Waiting for us to understand. Waiting for us to choose. The question is not whether they can destroy us. The question is what will finally make them stop waiting. Far from the council, on a small station at the edge of human space, Intelligence Director Anna Cole reviewed the intercepted debates with satisfaction. They are scared, she reported to Earth, but not scared enough to leave us alone. Raxes is already planning another attack. This one will be bigger. President Marcus Webb, grandson of the first contact captain, studied the data. How long do we have? 3 months. Maybe 4. And our preparations? Complete. The archive technology is online. The predecessor systems are integrated. We can defend ourselves against anything they send. That is what concerns me. Webb looked out the window at Earth, spinning peacefully in space. Can we defend ourselves without becoming what they fear? Anna did not answer. She did not know. But somewhere in the darkness between stars, something ancient was watching. Something that had waited 1,000,000 years for this moment. The architects had left more than warnings in their archives. They had left a test. Humanity was about to take it. The Obsidian Archive existed in a place that was not quite space. A dimensional pocket, carved from reality by the architects themselves, preserved across 1,000,000 years. Only 3 beings in the galaxy knew its location. High Arbiter Vorn was one of them. He had never visited before. The knowledge contained here had driven 7 previous arbiters insane. But after the 51st Fleet's retreat, he had no choice. The dimensional transit took 3 agonizing seconds. When reality reformed, Vorn found himself in a corridor that stretched beyond visible light. Crystalline storage matrices lined the walls, containing knowledge accumulated across 1,000,000,000 years. The Watcher was waiting. It had no form that Vorn could process. Just an absence. A void in the shape of something that might once have been alive. When it spoke, the words appeared directly in his mind. High Arbiter, we wondered when you would come. The humans. You know what they are. We know what they were. What they are becoming is unprecedented. Tell me everything. The void shifted, and suddenly Vorn was no longer in the archive. He was inside a memory, preserved across epochs. The scene showed a world burning, not a planet. A Dyson sphere surrounding a red star, home to a civilization that had achieved technological transcendence 3 million years before the architects existed. They called themselves the Triumvirate, and they had ruled the galaxy for 100,000 years. They were dying. Ships tore through their defenses like paper. Stations exploded without visible cause. Fleets vanished and reappeared as debris fields. Through it all, the attackers said nothing, broadcast nothing, demanded nothing. They simply destroyed. The Triumvirate were the most advanced civilization the galaxy has ever known, the Watcher explained. They could manipulate time, reshape matter with thought, transcend physical existence at will. They fell in 72 hours. Who destroyed them? The memory shifted to show a single ship emerging from a dimensional fold, small, primitive by Triumvirate standards. Inside were beings Vorn did not recognize. Bipedal, mammalian, soft-bodied, terrified. The attackers were refugees, a species called the Predecessor. They came from another galaxy, fleeing something so terrible that crossing the intergalactic void was preferable to staying. What were they fleeing? Themselves? Their own nature. In their home galaxy, they had dominated every ecosystem, built civilizations that consumed worlds, waged wars that sterilized star systems. Eventually, they turned on each other, faction against faction, until their entire galaxy became a graveyard. The memory showed the refugees emerging from their ship, hands raised in surrender. The Triumvirate surrounded them with weapons charged. The Predecessor asked for one thing, a world of their own, far from everyone else, where they could start over, where they could try to be better. And the Triumvirate refused? The Triumvirate laughed. They studied the refugees, found them primitive, declared them useful genetic material for experimentation. They dissected the survivors. Vorn felt sick. What happened then? The Predecessor had sent one more ship. Not refugees, but records. Everything they had built. Everything they had done. A warning and a plea. The message was simple. We came in peace. If peace is denied, we will respond in kind. You have seen what we are capable of. Please do not make us become that again. The Triumvirate ignored it. They destroyed the warning ship, broadcast the destruction as a demonstration of power, declared the Predecessor threat neutralized. The memory darkened. 72 hours later, the Triumvirate was gone. Not just their civilization, their species, every genetic trace, every technological remnant, every record of their existence, except what the architects preserved. The Predecessor erased them from reality so thoroughly that the galaxy itself seemed to forget they existed. Vorn's crystalline form flickered with horror. And the Predecessor? What happened to them? They eventually died out, consumed by the violence they had tried to escape. But before they did, they left behind a genetic template, a blueprint for a species that would carry their potential without their trauma, a species that would start fresh on a young world, with no memory of what their ancestors had done. The memory shifted one final time, showing a small blue world, third from a yellow star. Earth. Humans are the Predecessor's inheritors? Not descendants, inheritors. The same capacity for violence, the same genius for war, the same terrifying adaptability, but also something new, something the Predecessor never had. What? Restraint. The Predecessor spent millions of years proving they had none. But humans? They have spent their entire existence fighting against their own nature, building philosophies of peace, creating art that celebrates compassion, developing ethics and laws designed to control their worst impulses. That is why they ignore us. They are protecting us from themselves. Yes, every interaction risks triggering the predecessor potential. They know what they could become, and they are terrified of it. Vorm returned to the council chamber in shock. He shared the memory with every representative, holding nothing back. The chamber descended into chaos. "This is propaganda," Fleet Commander Raxes roared. "Human manipulation." "The archive cannot lie," Elder Moth countered. "It was created to preserve truth beyond distortion." "Then we should destroy the humans now, before they realize their potential. Did you not hear?" Celix's scales were pure black. The triumvirate had power beyond anything we possess. They fell in 3 days. A new voice cut through the chaos. A human voice. Every display showed the same face. A young man, calm and unafraid. "My name is David Webb," he said. "Great-grandson of Captain Marcus Webb. I have a message from Earth." Every representative froze. "We have watched your deliberations. We have heard your debates. We understand now what we did not before. You are not our enemies. You are our reflection." David's image zoomed out, showing him on a ship covered in symbols that the oldest species recognized with shock. Architect symbols. You fear us because you see your own potential in us. The capacity for violence, the hunger for conquest. You look at us and see what you could become. The symbols pulsed with light. So here is our offer, not an apology, not a surrender, a promise. We will not conquer you. We will not destroy you. But we will no longer hide. We will no longer pretend we are weak. And if any species threatens innocent lives, human or otherwise, we will stop them. Who holds you accountable? Raxes demanded. We do. And if we fail, the archive will ensure someone remembers what we were supposed to be. The transmission ended. High Arbiter Vorm stared at the fading image. They are not trying to rule the galaxy. They are trying to save it. From whom? From everyone, including themselves. The implications hung in the air, too vast to process. And somewhere in human space, the real transformation was only beginning. 6 months passed after David Webb's transmission to the Council. 6 months of uneasy peace. 6 months of watching and waiting. 6 months of transformation that changed everything. On the mining colony of Zarathus 7, Supervisor Rosa Mendez stared at her morning reports with growing concern. The colony belonged to the Krethix Merchant Consortium, one of the most powerful trade empires in the galaxy. But everything had changed when the humans arrived. They had not conquered anything. They had simply helped. Human engineers improved life support systems at no charge. Human doctors treated injuries that Krethix medicine could not touch. Human teachers gave children educations that elites paid fortunes to obtain. Now the consortium was furious. Supervisor Mendez, Third Merchant Prince Voreth, stood in her doorway, flanked by private security. You have allowed humans to corrupt this facility. Rosa stood slowly. She was human, hired to interface with Earth's new trade networks. She had not expected to still be here 6 months later. The workers requested human assistance. Consortium regulations allow voluntary improvement programs. Regulations are being revised. Effective immediately, all human personnel are expelled. All human technology is confiscated. All human-educated workers undergo loyalty verification. Verification? Memory adjustment. Standard procedure for contaminated assets. Rosa felt cold. Memory adjustment meant erasing everything the workers had learned, everything they had become, and replacing it with compliant obedience. You cannot do that. These are sentient beings. They have contracts. Voreth smiled, revealing rows of pointed teeth. Contracts specifying full neurological compliance with consortium standards. They signed those contracts before they knew there was an alternative. Then they should have read the fine print. Voreth gestured to his security. Begin evacuation. Any resistance meets terminal force. 3 light years away, aboard human monitoring station Echo 7, Lieutenant Commander Sophia Reyes watched the situation develop. They are mobilizing, she reported to Captain Yuri Petrov. Full security deployment. Weapons charging throughout the facility. Petrov was a thin, gray-haired man who had served Earth's defense forces for 40 years. How many of our people? 317 humans. 2,000 local workers who received human education. Contact Earth. Request authorization for protective intervention. Sir, that would violate the non-interference accord. We promised not to intervene in internal species matters. And the Krethiks promised not to harm civilians. Treaties work both ways. Make the call. On Earth, Director Anna Cole received the report during an emergency meeting with President Webb. Zerathis 7 is a test, she explained. The consortium wants to see if we will intervene. If we do, they claim we are aggressors. If we do not, 317 humans die and 2,000 workers get their minds erased. What about evacuation? Possible, but we would have to abandon the local workers. President Webb studied the tactical display. What do our principles say? Our principles say we do not sacrifice innocent lives to avoid inconvenience. Even if it means conflict? Even then. Webb nodded. Authorize intervention. Minimal force. Extract everyone. 6 ships emerged from dimensional folds around Zerathis 7. Tiny vessels, unarmed according to specifications. They broadcast on all frequencies immediately. Attention Zerathis 7. This is Earth Recovery Team, Delta. We are conducting voluntary evacuation of all personnel who wish to leave. We are not claiming territory. We are not challenging consortium authority. We are offering transport. Voreth watched from his command ship with contempt. Block them. Destroy any vessel that approaches. His fleet moved to intercept. Weapons locked onto the human ships. Final warning. Withdraw or be destroyed. We acknowledge your warning. We will not withdraw. We are here for our people. Voreth's lead ship opened fire. The plasma bolt struck the human vessel directly and stopped. Not deflected, not absorbed. Stopped, frozen in space, as if time itself had paused. Our ships are protected by architect technology, the human broadcast continued. We cannot be destroyed by conventional means. We could destroy your fleet with a thought. We choose not to. We are here to save lives. The human ships reached Zerathis 7. 2 hours later, the evacuation was complete. 3,300 souls safely aboard, bound for a new colony where memory adjustment was prohibited. Voreth's fleet hung in space, unable to prevent any of it. The Zerathis 7 incident changed everything. Species that had viewed humanity with suspicion began to reconsider. Species that had viewed humanity with hope began requesting assistance. And species that viewed humanity as a threat began to mobilize in secret sessions across the galaxy. An alliance formed. The Vorinth Dominion, the Krethiks Consortium, the hegemony of coiled stars. 14 other powers who saw humanity's rising influence as an existential threat. They called themselves the Sovereignty Pact. Their goal was simple. Destroy humanity before humanity decided to stop being peaceful. Fleet Commander Raxus led the planning. The humans restrained themselves by choice. Choices can change. We must eliminate the threat while elimination is still possible. Plans were drawn. Fleets assembled. The Sovereignty Pact would strike in 3 months with coordinated attacks on every human installation simultaneously. They believed they had secrecy. They believed they had surprise. Now they were wrong. On Earth, Director Cole reviewed intelligence that detailed the Pact's every move. They are planning genocide. Every human in the galaxy, eliminated in a single strike. Can we stop them? President Webb asked. Easily. The question is how. Meaning? Option 1. We reveal we know their plans. We demonstrate our capabilities. This prevents war, but confirms every fear about human power. Option 2. We let them attack. We absorb the first strike. We take casualties. Then we respond with measured force that defeats them without destroying them. You are suggesting we sacrifice our own people to prove a point? I am suggesting we sacrifice our own people to prove we are not the predecessor. That we can be hurt, that we can suffer, that we are not monsters. How many casualties? Between 50,000 and 200,000 dead. President Webb was silent for a long time. Do our people know about this? About the predecessor? About what we could become? Some do. Would they accept this? Dying to prove we are not monsters? Director Cole thought about everyone who had trusted humanity's promises. I think they would want the choice to be theirs. President Webb made his decision. Call an emergency broadcast. Every human in the galaxy. Explain everything. Let them vote. The broadcast went out that night. 3 days later, the results came in. 72% of humanity voted for option 2. They would absorb the first strike. They would prove, in blood and sacrifice, that power did not have to mean tyranny. The Sovereignty Pact had 3 months to attack. Humanity had 3 months to prepare for the hardest test any species had ever seen. Hosen to face. The day the Sovereignty Pact attacked would be remembered as the Day of Fire. 16,000 vessels emerged from dimensional folds across human space, coordinated, synchronized, devastating. They struck every human installation within range. Military outposts, civilian colonies, research stations, orbital platforms. The first wave killed 47,000 humans in 90 seconds. On Earth, President Webb watched the casualty reports scroll across his display. Each name was someone's child, someone's parent, someone's hope. Defensive systems are holding back as ordered, Admiral James Thornton reported. We are protecting civilians where possible, but not engaging attacking vessels. Casualties? 63,000 confirmed. Rising. Webb closed his eyes. This was what they had voted for. This was what he had authorized. This was the cost of proving they were not monsters. Any response from Pact forces? They are confused. They expected resistance. Some commanders are questioning whether this is a trap. Let them question. Continue evacuation protocols. Save everyone we can. Captain Leo Webb, the president's son, commanded the defense station, Horizon's Edge. The station orbited a gas giant in what had been a quiet corner of human space. Now it was surrounded by 40 Vorinth warships. Station Commander. Fleet Commander Raxus's face filled the communication display. You are alone. Your fleet has not responded. Your people are dying across the galaxy. Surrender now, and I will grant your crew quick deaths. Leo looked at his crew. 300 humans, plus 200 aliens who had sought refuge on human stations. They had voted for this. They had known what might happen. I decline your offer. Commander, then you choose extinction. I choose to demonstrate something. Leo activated hidden systems that had been dormant since construction. Raxus's tactical display went wild. What is this? This is what we have been holding back. Every station, every ship, every outpost. We have had the capability to defend ourselves since the beginning. We chose not to use it. Vorinth sensors showed impossible readings. Energy signatures matching predecessor technology. Weapons that could tear through the fleet like paper. Defensive fields no known force could penetrate. You could have destroyed us at any time, Raxus breathed. Yes, and why? Because we hoped you would give us a reason not to. Leo's voice cracked. 63 years. 47 fleets. Thousands of our people dead. We kept hoping someone would simply leave us alone, would recognize we were not a threat, would choose peace. You are a threat. Your existence is a threat. Our existence is a reality. What we do with it is a choice. Leo looked at the fleet surrounding his station. I offer you one final choice. Withdraw now, report what you have seen, and this ends. Press your attack, and we will defend ourselves. Not with anger, not with vengeance, just self-preservation. And if we withdraw, you conquer us? You do to us what the predecessor did to the triumvirate. No, we rebuild. We mourn. We try again to find a way to live in a galaxy that seems determined to hate us. That is all we have ever wanted. A chance to live. Raxes stared at the display. His whole life had been about conquest, about dominance, about the certainty that the strong survived and the weak perished. Here was the strongest species in the galaxy, asking only to be left alone. Commander Raxes. One of his subordinates interrupted. Sovereignty Pact Command has ordered general withdrawal. They have seen the readings from your tactical feed. They are retreating. Raxes looked at Leo Webb's face. The exhaustion, the grief, the impossible hope. Withdraw, he ordered quietly. All ships. Return to Rally Point. The Day of Fire cost humanity 173,000 lives. It also ended the war. The Sovereignty Pact dissolved within weeks. Species that had seen human capabilities and human restraint withdrew from the alliance. Many sent diplomatic missions seeking to understand how any civilization could absorb such losses and respond with mercy instead of annihilation. Fleet Commander Raxes submitted his resignation. His final report was brief. We were prepared to fight monsters. Instead, we found people who had every right to become monsters and chose not to. I no longer believe war against humanity is winnable. More importantly, I no longer believe it is right. High Arbiter Vorn presented the full archive record to the Council. The predecessor. The architect's warning. Humanity's choice to accept casualties rather than prove their enemies' fears justified. They knew we were planning to attack, he explained. They knew they could stop us without a single human death. They chose to bleed instead. They chose to prove, with the only currency that matters, that they were not the predecessor reborn. David Webb appeared on the Council's central display. What we have always wanted, he said. What we wanted before you sent the first fleet. What we wanted before you destroyed our stations. What we wanted before you killed our children. He paused, and his voice cracked with emotion. A seat at the table. A chance to help build something better. Not as conquerors. Not as subjects. Just as neighbors. Species sharing a galaxy, trying to figure out how to coexist. And if we refuse, then we wait. But we hope you will not make their sacrifice meaningless. The Council deliberated for 3 days. In the end, the vote was not close. 794 worlds voted to offer humanity full membership. 6 abstained. None voted against. When the results were announced, humans across the galaxy wept. They wept for the ones they had lost. They wept for the decades of fear. They wept because finally, they had been accepted not despite what they could do, but because of what they had chosen not to do. 1 year later, a memorial stood on Mars. 173,000 names carved into stone from every human world. Surrounded by gardens planted by alien visitors. Captain Leo Webb stood before the memorial, joined by High Arbiter Vorn, Fleet Commander Raxes, Elder Moth, and representatives from a dozen species. We come to honor your dead, Vorn said, and to pledge that their sacrifice will never be forgotten. Thank you. Leo's voice was thick. "But we do not want them remembered as martyrs. We want them remembered as people who believed peace was possible, who died still believing strangers could become friends." "They were right," Raxus said quietly. "I spent my life believing violence defined the galaxy. Your people showed me I was wrong." In the Obsidian Archive, the Watcher made a new entry. The first in 17 million years. The architects believed the Silent Ones represented inevitability, that any species with the predecessor's potential would embrace destruction. They were wrong. Humanity proved that potential is not destiny, that the capacity for violence can coexist with the choice of peace, that inheriting terrible power means nothing if that power is never used. The final words appeared on screens across every species that accessed archive broadcasts. The future is not written by the powerful. It is written by those brave enough to imagine something better and stubborn enough to pay the price of making it real. Welcome to the galaxy, humanity. You have earned your place among the stars. Not through conquest, but through the hardest victory of all. Victory over yourselves. And somewhere on Earth, children looked up at the night sky and saw not enemies, but neighbors. Not threats, but possibilities. The silence was finally over. The real story was just beginning.